she thought a boy finally liked her back. That's the lie that walked her into the woods. And by the end of this video, you'll hear the exact words his friend says he used to cover it up. Before we begin, if you enjoy respectful documentary-style true crime stories based on real cases, make sure to subscribe to The Last Mystery and turn on notifications so you never miss a new investigation. Now let's begin. In a quiet Florida panhandle town, a 14-year-old girl followed a boy she liked into the woods. She never walked back out. Danica Jade Troy was 14 years old, living in Pace, Florida, with her mother Ashley and her 8-year-old little sister. By every account from people who knew her, she was the kind of kid who filled a room. Loud in a good way, always planning something, always talking about what she wanted her life to look like. Like most kids her age, her world ran through her phone. Group chats, comments, the small daily friction of who said what to whom. Over Thanksgiving break in 2025, that friction turned personal. According to investigators, Danica had blocked one boy from her school, 14-year-old Kamari Blevins, on social media. Around the same time, she allegedly posted something sharp about another classmate, 16-year-old Gabriel Coleman Williams, calling him, according to police, worthless, and something closer to a gang insult. To most teenagers, that's the kind of dispute that fades in a week. Investigators say these two boys didn't let it fade. They let it fester into a plan. On the night of November 30th, Danica left home. What her mother didn't know yet, what she wouldn't learn until days later, was the reason her daughter slipped out that night. According to Ashley, Danica believed Gabriel had feelings for her. Not a setup, not a trap, just a boy she'd liked for a while, finally noticing her back. He had her heart, Ashley would later say. It wasn't hard to lure her. Danica followed Gabriel into a wooded area off a walking trail near Kimberly Road, in a stretch of Pace known as Florida Town. He wasn't alone. Quick question before we continue. Drop your answer in the comments. Before we go further, if a friend told you they liked you, how sure would you feel following them somewhere alone? Type your honest answer below. We'll read some of them later in the video. The next morning, December 1st, Ashley Troy woke up and realized her daughter wasn't home. She noticed Danica's electric scooter was also gone. A small detail that, at the time, looked like just another piece of a runaway story. Around 7 a.m., she called it in. Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson would later put it plainly. Unbeknownst to the mother, Danica had already been murdered the night before. For an entire day, deputies searched under the assumption they were looking for a missing teenager who might come home on her own. Flyers went up. Friends shared her photo. Nobody yet knew they were searching for a crime scene. Then, on December 2nd, at around 11 a.m., a passerby walking near Kimberly Road spotted something in the brush just off the trail. It was Danica. She had been shot multiple times and her body had been set on fire. Investigators recovered live rounds of ammunition scattered near the scene, along with clear evidence of a fire. As if this case needed another disturbing layer, investigators later alleged that a man from Pace, who came across the scene before deputies did, chose not to report it. Instead, according to the sheriff's office, he allegedly took Danica's scooter from the site and said nothing. He now faces his own charges for failing to report a death and for the alleged theft, a strange, cold footnote in a case already full of them. Investigators didn't have to look far. Both suspects were already known to Danica, classmates, not strangers. Detectives quickly named Kamari Blevins, 14, and Gabriel Williams, 16, as the primary suspects. A witness later told police the killing had been discussed in advance, that the original plan had only called for a single shot. According to that same account, Williams kept firing well after that. Investigators also allege Williams took a handgun belonging to his own mother before the killing. At a press conference, Sheriff Johnson didn't soften what came next. He told reporters this was the part of the case that gets really horrific. A 16-year-old armed with his mother's gun, shooting a 14-year-old girl who trusted him enough to follow him into the dark. Both teenagers were arrested within days. Second question for you. Do you think an online argument like this one ever just fades? Or does it always leave a mark somewhere? Let us know in the comments. And if you're new here, this is exactly the kind of case we break down every week. So go ahead and subscribe now before we continue. Here's where the case gets genuinely strange. Both boys told investigators the killing traced back to that social media falling out, the blocked account, the insulting comment. Sheriff Johnson has publicly pushed back on that explanation. In his words, it simply doesn't line up with the physical evidence at the scene. A stolen handgun, a planned meeting in a remote location, an accelerant to burn the body. None of that reads like a spur-of-the-moment blow-up between two teenagers with hurt feelings. Which leaves investigators and the rest of us with an uncomfortable possibility that the real motive may never fully surface, and that the story the suspects gave police may be exactly what Ashley Troy called it: an excuse, not an explanation. Because of the severity of the charges, an Escambia County grand jury indicted both Williams and Blevins on first-degree premeditated murder. And under Florida law, that charge carries a mandatory minimum of life in prison if convicted. Both teenagers are being prosecuted as adults and are currently held without bond in Santa Rosa County. Gabriel Williams has pleaded not guilty and requested a jury trial. As of this recording, both cases remain pending, with the state attorney's office prosecuting on behalf of the First Judicial Circuit. Neither boy has been convicted. Both are presumed innocent until a jury or plea says otherwise. A little over a week after Danica went missing, the Pace and Milton community gathered outside Avalon Baptist Church for a candlelight vigil. Friends stood in a half circle, holding small flames against the dark, remembering a girl they said should still be here. Laughing, planning, dreaming about a future that got cut short. One friend told local reporters she wished people could still hear Danica's laugh, still watch her chase down whatever plan she'd cooked up that week. Local churches opened donation drives to help Ashley Troy cover funeral costs. A detail that, on its own, says something about how this case rippled far past one family's front door. For Ashley Troy, none of the legal process answers the question she keeps returning to. She said publicly that her daughter just wanted to be in love. That Danica went into those woods trusting a boy she thought cared about her, not knowing it was allegedly a setup from the start. That single detail is what makes this case difficult to look away from. Not the violence alone, but how ordinary the bait was. A crush, a boy paying attention. The most human thing in the world, allegedly used as a weapon. Danica Troy was 14, She's not here to tell her own story, so for now, all we have is what investigators pieced together: a mother's grief and a community holding candles outside a church. This case is still working its way through the courts. When it resolves, we'll come back and update you. Until then, it's a reminder of something worth sitting with. The people most able to hurt us are rarely strangers. Sometimes they're the ones we trust enough to follow into the dark. If you found this case informative, please leave a like. It helps more people discover these stories. Subscribe to The Last Mystery for more carefully researched true crime documentaries every week, and let us know in the comments. What part of this case shocked you the most? And of the 2 questions we asked earlier, which one are you still thinking about? Drop it below. We read every comment. This case ends in the courtroom. The next one never even makes it that far. Watch it now, before it's taken down.